There's my seat.
Just rocking out on this beautiful post-election day.
Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. I'm picking up Steven again. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Alexa, stop. Steven, what's going on?
Man, it is a wonderful, beautiful day. It's a tremendous day. It's a glorious day. Believe me, people often say it. So right now, look at this. I'm checking the news, and we, the American people, don't quite know who the El Presidente is going to be. So it's right now the electoral map is looking at 238 electoral college votes for Joe Biden and 213 for Donald Trump. A few states that are in contention. Give me just a second and let me bring that up. Looks like Nevada hasn't been officially called yet. Arizona hasn't been officially called yet. Alaska hasn't been officially called yet, although I think we can guess which way that's going to go. North Carolina, for some reason, isn't officially called. Neither is Georgia. Pennsylvania is still at 64% of districts reporting. They got a huge backlog of mail-in ballots to go through. And there's Michigan and Wisconsin. So that's pretty interesting. If you're looking at the electoral map, you might, on a 270 to win, for example, you might see Maine and Nebraska have little stripes on it. That's because those states have a voting system known as ranked choice voting, which I'm a big fan of. And so basically, you could put your first choice, and then your second choice, and then your third choice. And so the whole wasted vote fallacy, you don't have to worry about that. If you're a third party guy or gal, you can be like, I'm going to vote third party, and if they don't win, duopoly. Or
What
if
is
you're
that?
like
Yeah, what is that again? What's it called?
ranked choice voting, ranked choice.
What states are those?
Maine and Nebraska.
Nebraska. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool voting system.
And so that's how they distribute their electoral college? Is that how that works?
Yeah. So there are in Nebraska, there are 5 electoral college votes, and I think there are 5 contests. And in Maine, there are 4 electoral college votes and either 2 or 4 contests. So you get to choose which way you want to go. And so it looks like each of those states have actually split their electoral college votes. So it's not winner take all. It's, if you get a proportion, you get a proportion of that vote. So that's also called proportional representation within the electoral college.
Well, listen, thank you for letting me pick you up again. It's been a interesting. This is not what I thought was going to happen, but it's 2020.
Yeah. One would have thought that a year with the year 2020 would be a year of more clarity of sight, but it's as blurry as anything else.
So this will make us stronger. I mean, you have to. Yeah. I mean, this has to make people stronger. We're either going to learn from this, or we're going down. I mean, I refuse to let all of this stuff. But I'm going to do something that I have not done in a long time since I was on vacation. I'm going to actually open a beer before noon. That's how crazy this last 24 hours has been. I never drink before noon if I even, if I do, unless we're on vacation or something, or going to a game or whatever. And so I just felt like I needed to, it was either that or Papa Xanax. And I just.
You mean you're going to drink and drive? Christian,
No,
I'm surprised at you.
Right, that's right. That's true.
It's just one for the road. It's fine, right?
Yeah. So thank goodness. So listen, I know we talked briefly before the other show, before the coffee show, and you mentioned about running for governor. The votes were in, and you said something about ballot access. Explain to us who don't understand the consequences of the votes, or I don't even know how to word it. Just explain to us about that.
Yeah. So North Carolina recognizes 5 political parties. So it recognizes the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party, the Constitution Party, and the Green Party.
Mhm.
And so that's the first step to getting ballot access. So ballot access is basically you have a candidate that you vote for, and there's a party like letter next to their name.
Yeah.
You can run as a candidate for that political party, right? That's what ballot access is. Now,
Mhm.
Democrats and Republicans get ballot access automatically because those parties make the rules. So of course the duopoly will get that. If you are not a duopoly candidate, then you have to follow some additional steps in order to get ballot access so that as a political party, you can run candidates whether it's at the local level or the state level. And so
Mhm.
that's 2% of the vote in North Carolina in
Mhm.
either a presidential election or a gubernatorial election. Or it is, I believe, give me just a second. I think it's 0.25%
Yeah.
of signatures. Yeah, it's a 0.25% of the total number of voters who voted in the most recent election. You have to get signatures from them.
Okay.
So for North Carolina, that would be 0.25% of like 7 million people.
Okay.
So we have to get that many signatures, and the signatures have to be exactly perfect
Yeah.
as they appear on the voter registration card. Otherwise, the Board of Elections will throw them out. So that
Okay.
effectively means twice that number. So,
Okay.
a 0.5% of the total number of electors, of people who voted in that last election. And then, of course, you have to fill out the Board of Elections documentation that the group of voters has a candidate nominated by that group, the group being the political party,
Yeah.
and has ballot access in at least 70% of the states prior to the presidential election. So,
Mhm.
because because the Libertarian Party had ballot access in all 50 states, we
Yep.
might be able to retain ballot access in North Carolina,
Yep.
but it really all depends on how mad the Republicans are in the General Assembly,
Yeah.
because for some reason,
They're the ones.
the spread between Cooper and Forrest was like 250,000 votes,
Yep.
but 50,000 votes somehow swung the election to Cooper. So I don't know the logic in that, but it
Yeah.
is what it is.
So what you're saying is, I'm looking at kind of what you're talking about. So right now, Donald Trump is at 49.98, Biden is 48, and all three of the other Libertarian, um, Green Party, and Constitution, they all got less than 1%. So they technically would not have ballot access at that level,
They
right?
might not. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so yeah,
That depends on if the General Assembly decides to exclude them, which I can't imagine they would, because I can tell you at the Democrats, Wayne Goodwin, who's our chairperson who lost his insurance person, he was one of the persons that was actively looking to give the Constitution Party ballot access. As a matter of
mhm,
fact, he had his people passing out the bill for us to sign at our Democratic meetings because he felt like that would take away from Republicans.
mhm.
And so he was actively trying to get the Constitution Party ballot access. So I would imagine Democrats would want Constitution Party, Libertarian Party, and the Republican Party would want the Green Party.
Yeah, yeah, and
I,
I'll say that I'm a big fan of political parties. I like political coalitions. I like the idea. I like more representation, more
yeah,
choices in general. Because the LP, that's the Libertarian Party, has ballot access in all 50 states, it's
yeah.
probably will be able to retain that ballot access. The Green Party was kicked off the ballot in many states.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's still I think they still got like 35 states, but I'm not exactly sure
Mhm.
because the Democratic Party in several states pulled shenanigans,
Mm,
like say in Texas and
yeah,
in not Missouri, Minnesota. There are a few states where they pulled electoral shenanigans to get them kicked off the ballot. And
okay.
then I'm not so sure about the Constitution Party. I don't know how they stand. So
Yep,
they might be a little like, oh, we're going to have to do petitioning work.
yep,
But I know in the past, the Libertarian Party of North Carolina has helped the Greens
yep,
get ballot access by doing signings with
yep,
them, and not for them necessarily, but with them, because we believe in the principle of competition, even if like we disagree. Like some of my friends are Green Party people,
yeah.
and we just don't talk economics.
so that's, I know we've had these conversations before, but I mean, I can't imagine, and we said this on the early show, that how close the elections, all of the elections work. There were a couple of, like Mecklenburg County, which is going really, really blue. So, you had people get in just because they were Democrat, and so forth. So we need a third party. I mean, this is a purple state. We need a third party. So we've got to do whatever we can. So I
And as
know,
much as we need a third party, we need the other two parties to be better, right? So
yeah,
one of the one of the advantages of a robust third party, or even a fourth party, right,
yeah,
is that the duopoly parties, which will probably be the larger parties anyway for the foreseeable future,
mhm,
forces Democrats to be better Democrats, and it forces
mhm,
Republicans to be better Republicans. And when they're
yeah.
better, the people are better served. And so there's a real benefit to that as well. But
And
someone's got to hold them accountable. Otherwise, it's
no,
just
no, exactly. And that's the reason, we've talked about on the coffee show all the time, and I say all the time, and I get pushback a lot from other Democrats who consider me to be a bad Democrat, is we need a strong Republican Party different from the way it is,
mhm.
because they need to hold us accountable. I mean, I don't want, unfortunately, I think we probably have it. I didn't want an all Democrat county commission. I didn't want that. That's why I supported Matthew Ridenhour.
Because our taxes went up.
Well, not just because taxes went up, but we need diversity at the
Mhm.
table. We
Yeah,
need,
that's very true.
as a white woman, I can speak to this. I don't want all white women at the table. I want a white man. That's why I supported Matthew Ridenhour. We don't have a white man on the board of county commission in a city that has a lot of diversity. I mean, we need that.
I just
I
want
don't.
more beards in office. Take
Well,
that, take that any way you want.
yeah, unfortunately, I can't grow one. So I really wanted. I wish Matthew had won. The person who won, we didn't support because we didn't know who she was. She's just going to be another talking about white women issues. She's never visited our parks here in this area. We're going to hold her accountable, just as I did Susan Harden, who's our current county commissioner. I hope that the person who won doesn't just focus on the arts and things that are just for white women. I hope she's, will actually reach out to all of us. She tried to act like she was a moderate at the very end, which she's a very big progressive. She's one of those Me Too, women. And I'm all about, well, how about us too? And so I'm going to get some bad messages about that one for some reason. But anyway, so we need to do whatever we can to help the Libertarian Party and the Green Party and whatever keep ballot access, because that keeps us all grounded, I think. So
Yeah, you'll get no argument from me on that.
so
No
so what do you
argument
think?
whatsoever.
I mean, I think I know on the last show you said, Trump wins, this and Biden wins this and this. And and there's in a way, I do feel kind of, guilt is not the word. Uh, I do feel I wanted Biden to win, but just like in 2016, and I was on the ballot when Trump won, I wasn't upset. I was like, we just got to work with whoever. I wish I'd been in Congress. I could work with Trump, or help whatever the issue is. But there are a lot of Democrats, especially Democrats, white women, Me Too Democrats, a lot of Democrats of color, that this is a really, like, I heard them last night when I was at one of the events. They were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is going to happen." And this, it reminds me of a Philadelphia Eagle fan. I mean, they're so obsessed with their team that they don't have the ability to lose and go, there's always next time. You know what I
They
mean?
got to be
So
more
what
like
do you
Mets fans.
yeah, see, Cowboy fans and Mets fans, Cubs fans, right? Are those the teams that used to be good? And so I mean, what do you
Or the
think? I mean,
Jets.
yeah, I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, do you think that? Because I mean, you probably, I don't know. You don't really hang around the same groups I do, but
Well, so I'm in the political
yeah,
sphere, and it's
yeah,
interesting for me being not a Democrat and not
yeah,
a Republican. I can be in a room full of liberals and Democrats, and they'll say, "Oh, Steve, you're a conservative." I'm like, I don't really think I am. And I
Yeah.
can hang out with a bunch of conservatives and Republicans. Like, oh, Steve, you're such a liberal. I'm like, I don't really think I am. But I'm not really a centrist though, right? I wouldn't
Yeah.
call myself a moderate because I'm pretty extreme on certain things, right?
Yeah.
I'm anti-war, I'm
Mhm.
anti-drug war,
Mhm.
I'm anti-gun control of all kinds. I'm very much a pro free market capitalist kind of fella. So it's like all these kind of weird things mixed together. Like I'm down with gay marriage. I
Mhm.
want gay married couples to, defend their marijuana fields, with their fully automatic rifles while their children labor in the fields. Like that's the future I want.
That's a great stem speech. So when you run again, if you run for like whatever, city council at large or whatever, that would be like the opening line. I'm all for lesbians with guns, growing their pot, attending the church they want to or not going to the church they don't want to, being able to have a business with very little government interference and no taxes. I mean, it would
Yep,
be,
yep.
and
Yeah,
people would be
child labor
like,
laws are ruining this country, says Ron Swanson.
so I'm just trying to visualize the Charlotte. Oh my! Do I like that? I'm not sure. Am I?
It's like well, I like one of those. I like two of those. Wait,
Yes,
but
oh,
I'm
yeah,
not
they'd be like,
even.
oh no, yeah. I
It's like I'm confused. Those
like.
things don't seem to go together.
So that would really be a funny like stump speech. I mean, you would say that, and everyone would be like, and then you could end it by, and I will say anything I need to say to get your vote, like all these guys.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did say when I was going around in the governor campaign was, as a libertarian, the Libertarian Party, we work really hard to try to take over the government so that we can leave you alone.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
we're we're plotting to take over the world to stay out of your business.
that's right. Yeah. So I don't know. That's kind of crazy. So you don't think we're going to find the results of this until? I'm looking at the breaking news. It says Georgia will have the results by the end of the day, which really doesn't make a difference, I guess. Philadelphia, I think they met and they're by the end of the week. Philadelphia is saying they'll have all
Yeah,
of it.
Pennsylvania's getting hammered because they're not used to all the mail-ins and stuff. And so there are partisans on the left and the right on both sides who are nitpicking, right? So in some of the northern states, there's this, oh, every ballot needs to be counted kind of
Yeah,
motif that's going around. And it's like, well, that's silly because some ballots just like there are valid reasons why a ballot might not be counted. Like, and
yeah,
I mean like a mail-in ballot or whatever, or a paper ballot is if it was mailed like if it was mailed today, right? After
mhm,
election day, like if it's not postmarked by election day, what you just discounted it. You missed election day. What do you want? Or if the name's wrong, or if someone's not legally eligible to vote. Some of these states disenfranchise felons, which
yeah.
I think is wrong. That
Mhm,
shouldn't be the case, but it is what it is.
mhm,
Or what's another thing? Oh, yeah, like um, if the name or the signature isn't done
yeah,
right, like there are requirements. So like there are a bunch of invalid reasons not to count ballots that are mailed in, but there are some good reasons. And so the idea that people are going to get out there and say every ballot needs to be counted, it's like, come on, like I know that's a good slogan, but people will
mhm,
take that. And I honestly think this will be a very heavily litigated
yeah.
result, and it's
Mhm,
going to be lawsuit after
mhm,
lawsuit, counting and recounting, and it's just going to push it on. And I mean, unless there's a clear winner,
yeah.
right? And for the sake of the institutions that make up the government, I hope that the electoral college vote and the popular vote coincide,
Yeah.
because if they don't, oh, that's not that great. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I do think 2020s, whatever Monday morning quarterback, all the terms, cliches, whatever that's called. I do think as a party, our Democratic Party, we made a mistake by pushing so heavily mail-in ballots instead of telling people if you don't feel comfortable do a mail-in ballot, but if you can, go vote in person. Because it gave Trump or people who gave him the ammunition to be confused about the mail-in ballots and all that kind of stuff, you know. And so, you know, we were really were pushing mail-in ballots, mail-in ballots, mail-in ballots. Obviously, it didn't do any good because the Republicans didn't really push it, and they're doing just as, you know, just as fine. You know, he brought his individuals out. So I don't know. It's easy for us to look back and see, you know, what we would do differently. You know,
Mhm.
whatever. It's all we did that the last 4 years. You know, so forth. But I don't know. This is unusual. I was, I guess there. I was looking so forward to breaking that pinata last night that that was what so, you know, but like I said, as a Cowboy fan, I should be used to this. I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, but there are wins, right? So
yeah,
like in California and in Oregon, you
mhm,
have I think it was Prop 33 in California, which is where California's I guess war against Uber and
mhm.
Lyft and Uber Eats
Oh,
was
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
struck
Okay.
down. So people who work for those companies can still be classified as independent contractors. Now,
Mhm.
why that matters, right, is simply because if it goes to like the way they want to do it, where like only you have to be like a full-time employee or a
Yep.
trade union or whatever,
Mhm.
most of the people who were working for those companies as like a side hustle, they would not be able to do that any longer. They would just lose their
Oh,
jobs.
oh, I see.
Because something similar was passed for freelance journalist work,
Yeah,
which limited freelance journalists to like 30 articles a month, which is like most
yeah,
freelancers can do 30 articles a week,
yeah.
and you know, unless you were paid full time. And
Mhm.
so a lot of digital publications just fired all of their Californian employees and hired people in other states like New
Yeah.
York and Illinois and you know, places like that, Texas. And so it's like, yeah, it sounds good, but in practice it doesn't work. And so all that law did in California was put a lot of people out of work. So I'm happy to see that the Prop 33 did go through, because that means more Californians have more access to employment than they would have before. So that's
Okay.
good.
So question, since no one's watching the show, you don't have to worry about this ever getting out. Be honest. Do you think it was a mistake for Dan Forrest and the you're not the boss of me people to run on a in North Carolina to run on a message of let's just open us up, don't wear masks. I mean, those are separate things, but I mean, he really ran on it was a very big contrast. You had Governor Cooper running this way, and Dan Forrest was really like the leader of the I'm not wearing masks, open us up, send all the kids to school. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, as one of their competitors, what's your thinking?
I mean, I was personally, I was unmoved by a lot of their a lot of I mean, both Forrest and Cooper, I was unmoved by their campaign. Now, so let's talk nerd baseball
Yeah,
for a second. The incumbent always has a significant advantage.
yeah,
Now, Cooper wasn't doing too well as far as polling was considered. Forrest was the favored to win until
mhm,
coronavirus. Now, why does
yes,
that matter? Because
mhm,
when there's a disaster, governors have the ability to act like do the leadership role that the governors typically are, like that's why we have governors in states to
mhm,
take the lead in those disaster scenarios, so that you know you do like, so the legislature is a deliberative body, so people argue back and forth, and you know when you
yeah,
have an emergency you need someone to lead the charge and get stuff done. So even if you don't like necessarily what Cooper was doing, and I would count myself among that crew,
yeah,
the idea that you have a leader getting stuff done like
mhm,
that, that carries an air of like, oh, you know what, at least he's doing something.
yeah,
So if you're going to run against that, then you
mhm,
have to offer a very clear path that
yeah,
is different, right? You have to do, and Forrest didn't do that. And I
mhm,
honestly don't think that an establishment politician like Forrest would even be capable of running that
yeah,
kind of messaging,
mhm,
simply because politics is hidebound. And so it's like,
yeah,
yeah, don't wear masks, masks are fake. It's like that
mhm,
plays to your base, but you
Yeah.
got to get more than your base.
Yeah.
And so one thing that Forrest could have done, but of course he wouldn't because Republicans aren't about that, is to talk about the weaponization of the ABC against bars and clubs.
Okay.
Bar owners, club owners, restaurant owners, they want to earn a living, right?
Mhm.
And you can find a way to make them able to operate their business and earn a living safely.
Mhm.
But you have to do something about the ABC. Well, Republicans aren't going to do that. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Well, what about property tax relief? If you're considered, if your business has to operate at a reduced capacity, you're losing out on money. Well, maybe you don't have to pay all your property taxes then.
Yeah.
Nope, we're not going to do that. It's like, okay, so there were things that could be done to, like, I'm going to work for you, the little guy. That wasn't he just didn't do. And
Yeah.
so I don't think enough people were moved by that. I'm just a Republican and Cooper's, commie Cooper, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, yeah, but you're going after moderates,
Yeah.
unaffiliateds, swing Democrat voters.
Yeah. I mean, when you have people like Barbara who are saying, "Well, Cooper's done a good job," yeah, I mean, yeah, it's, I mean, they're kind of like what you're saying. What they mean is he's
He's
taking
doing
charge.
something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And I mean,
So,
I honestly don't think he was doing that great of a job, but you know, differences of opinion, right? Uh, but he was doing something, and that matters to a lot of people. And so, if you're going to run against him, you gotta offer something bold and different, more than just like, no, I do what I want.
yeah, yeah. And so yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I do think that I don't know. I just, and interestingly, it'd be interesting to also find out with the polling. I was reading some of that before the numbers started coming out, that I think it was 33% of Democrats, COVID was one of their top two issues, COVID and race relations, or something like that. With
Interesting.
Republicans, or with Biden supporters, with Trump supporters, it was like really down there. It wasn't a big issue, for whatever. So it was so different on how they view. Theirs was the economy, and I think I forgot the other one, or whatever the case may be. So it was very interesting. So, of course, everyone's going to digest it, or break everything down and find out why people voted. And it seemed like that what we thought was COVID was a really, really big deal, because it is a big deal for many people. Wasn't really a big deal. It wasn't really that big deal at all for people who were voting for Trump. That's not even. It was only a big deal for people who voted for Biden Harris.
Hmm.
And so I don't know. I don't know how, but it shows you how split everyone. Everyone's different personalities were. But then once again, like they said, that it looks like a third of the people who voted for Biden specifically voted not because they like Biden, they just hated Trump, which I think it was a lot less with Hillary. They just didn't hate Trump as much, and so they were willing to take a chance with Trump, and they just or whatever they. So
Hmm.
anyway, all of that stuff I think is going to be very interesting, and it looks like the third party people didn't really play that much of a role. Uh,
I mean, and to be fair on that point with the third party folks, COVID completely destroyed our campaigning model, right? Like, so one of the things was, let's do campaigns, grassroots efforts, door knocking communities, rallies, indoor and outdoor, meeting with businesses, stuff like. And when the shutdown happened, like during the summer when everyone's like out and about, it's like, oh, we can't rent a restaurant, we can't
yeah,
go and meet a bunch of people at a club, we can't do. Parks were closed. Parks are a big part of where we go, and people
yeah,
don't want us showing up in their neighborhoods, knocking on doors, handing out flyers, because like, oh, COVID, no, no, thank you. And it's like, okay, well, what do we do? The media doesn't cover us, so you don't get that. Not invited to debates, so you
yeah,
can't get that pledge. Everyone just does Zoom calls, but it's like, okay, you're talking to 60 people, and it never makes it out there.
yeah.
So it was not a good year to not be part of the duopoly. It
I,
was
I
a
was
bad
trying.
year for that.
I was trying to see if you knew how Jeff did. Uh,
Did like 3.5%, something like that.
okay, so he got. all right, I was curious. So he got about 4,291 votes.
Mhm.
And okay, all right, I see. Yeah, so because remember his message was completely fire. I forgot what his platform
Yeah,
was. It was
Fire Cohen, Fire Cohen. And
indict,
I'll say this
in-
on the Fire Cohen thing. A lot of
indict,
people
indict.
a lot of people want to say Cohen's super awesome because of her conferences.
Yeah.
Don't forget that when Cohen was the head, her first year as head of the Department of Health and Human Services, both the Department of Environmental Quality and the Department of Health and Human Services got word that a chemical company was spewing dangerous chemicals into the Cape Fear River system, and they chose not to do anything
Mhm.
because they're like, well, we'll just let the EPA handle that. And it's like, why? You know that your communities are being poisoned, and you're just gonna just foot the bill and say, nope, nope, we're not. You're gonna pass the buck. Um, and that, I think that is lack of leadership. That's weakness,
Yeah.
and it's criminal. And the head of the Department of Health and Human Services, and Department of Environmental Quality are still in position of power. And the
Mhm.
fact that they just punted on this and didn't move until the EPA and several lawsuits said, "Oh, maybe we should do something about this,"
Mhm.
I think is just it's intolerable. So
Yeah.
I am all for getting rid of the people in those positions of leadership because they allowed our countrymen to be potentially poisoned
Yeah.
because they didn't want to stand up and potentially risk controversy. It's
Mm.
like, okay, you got the
Yeah.
Ninth and 10th Amendments of the Constitution to back you up, as well as your mandate under the state of
Mhm.
North Carolina Constitution and government. If you know people are going to get poisoned, you should do
Mhm.
something about it. Like, no, no, we'll let the EPA
Mhm.
do it. Meanwhile, the EPA is the same organization that allowed maybe millions of people to be poisoned in Flint. Like, why would you trust them?
But isn't that isn't that an argument for making them stronger?
No,
Making
well, so why aren't they stronger?
because
Like what
what
would
I'm
have
saying,
kept them from being able to do something?
no, what I'm saying is that my understanding is you would be supporting no EPA, right?
Yeah, because they don't do anything.
Okay, so but
And when
we
they
do
do something, they fail.
okay, but we do know that people that leak that can't police themselves. So so what would who would monitor them?
So this is how you handle
Okay,
that, right?
okay, yeah,
So this is the fix.
yeah,
You have in North Carolina, you have a state Department of Environmental Quality
okay,
and Department of Health and Human Services.
okay,
It is their responsibility to protect the lands and the waters of North Carolina. And if
yeah,
they get word that there's poison to be had, they need to get with the Council of State and
sure.
have action done to mitigate that immediately. And if they don't, if the leadership doesn't,
Sure.
they need to get fired.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. So what you're saying is get rid of the EPA, but let the strengthen the states or the states would monitor it, whatever, like that the state would hold that company accountable. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and the EPA is not going to go anywhere, right?
Yeah,
And maybe the EPA has some, and the EPA probably has some merit when doing stuff that's across state lines,
yeah,
right? Because because that's how interstate
yeah,
commerce and stuff works.
yeah,
But the EPA to have if you didn't have the EPA, for example,
sure.
you couldn't use it as an excuse not to
Oh,
do
I see what you
anything,
mean. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So to have your state
Mhm.
government act as though the EPA wasn't there, I
Yes.
think is the best way to go about it. And if your state steps over the line, then the EPA comes in and says, "Oh, guys, sorry, supremacy clause
Yeah,
is in play." It's like,
yeah,
"Oh, okay, whatever." But most
yeah.
cases they won't do it. And there are
Okay.
instances where the EPA, for example, actually actively hides information like they did in Flint
Yeah.
that led to the poisoning of thousands of children.
Okay.
It's insane and criminal,
Yeah.
and it's just to rely on them to pass the buck. I think is just intolerable, and
Sure.
so that's why I'm all for firing Cohen.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, that was a good explanation. I
Because
guess
I don't forget what happened 4 years ago. I
yeah,
remember that.
you have a very long memory. I got to remember that. So Hey, listen, we only wanted to talk for a half hour
Oh
because
yeah.
I start watching the results, but it was great talking to you. Thank you for explaining about third party, what we need to do to make sure the third parties I think even after this, we get a couple of months. Maybe we'll have a month to just relax, and then you'll have people towards the end of December getting ready for the 2021 elections.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's December 8th is the cutoff date for the Electoral College too. So we might not know till December 8th.
yeah, so December, and so we'll at least have the holidays to kind of breathe, and then you'll have people who want to run for city council and all of those stuff starting to drop their names. What, January
Mhm.
of next year? So I did think that. So I hope the Libertarian Party
Are you gonna run
isn't.
for city council, Christian?
No,
It'd be a
no,
lot. It'd be
but
a lot of fun.
they did do some recommendations. I think at the last meeting to extend they may be putting a referendum on the ballot. I don't know if it's in 2021 to extend the term from 2 to 4 years and to stagger
Terrible idea.
well, that's the recommendation that the city, whatever had the community group organization, and then to increase the salary to equal to the county commission salaries, and then to stagger the elections so at large year, like every two, you know how they stagger them or whatever, so they're all not running at the same. The mayor runs separate from the districts. There was recommendations I think that was done on Monday, but I don't think anyone really paid attention because everyone was focused on this election. So they do have some changes. I think they're going to happen with Charlotte City Council. That I don't know. Anyway, it'd be interesting to see because so 2021 elections are going to be very interesting. It'd be interesting to see who runs against Tariq, which I hope someone does. But I know you like Tariq, but he's just
What's wrong with Tariq? That's enough said, I guess.
that's he's not in my district. The people in his district have to determine if that's the face they want of every time I watch him, like I try to watch the even if I just have it on or whatever in the background, and he's just so either he has like attention deficit disorder or some kind of I don't know what it is, but he's just always like he's on a cell phone, he's slumped in his, this.
I got you. I got you.
And then when he's talking, it's like, because it's like he wants to be like he wants to take Rush Limbaugh's place over, with his whole podcast. And he's like, I really believe that this is. He's like a Velma Leak. He's like a white Velma Leak. I mean, he just talks and talks, just to hear himself. And so, anyway, that's just my. Hey, that's the first tee that I've thrown in a while. So that's what the show is supposed to be about. All right.
Yeah. I
Well,
like
thank
it. I like it.
yes. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great day. We'll see you next week on Two Queers in a Truck if we're able to pick someone up since the truck is empty. All right.
And because it's a virtual truck, you can drink and not drive.
That's right. That's right. Now I'm getting sleepy since I'm drinking this. So we'll see what happens. All right. Thank you, Stephen.
Take it easy.